Hey everyone, in the videos of this particular section, let's talk about async and await, which are again very important concepts in terms of asynchronous JavaScript, which we have been seeing for last few sessions. We have covered the part of callbacks. Also, we saw promises in JavaScript, how to create a promise, how to return a promise, how to consume a promise.
Hey there. If you're finding this video helpful, you'll love our full online course on JavaScript with node.js. It goes even more in depth and covers everything you need to know. Check out the link in the description to enroll and take your skills to the next level.
And async await is just an advanced portion for that. And by using async await, we'll see how we can consume the promises in much better way. So let's understand what is async and await. And to understand this by using an example, let's see this particular promise over here. So we have a simple function which accepts an email and it does some processing with the email and returns the user ID associated with that email. So probably it does some API calls and gets some data and returns the particular user ID. So I'm just simulating that by using a timeout. So essentially it takes some time to retrieve the user ID for the user. And then for that purpose, what does it do is it returns a promise. Now, how do we consume a promise? By our understanding of the promises so far, the way we would do is we'll use the user ID, get user ID function, and we'll provide the email of the user, let's say md@dezlearn.com. Okay, then we'll use the word then, and over here, whatever we want to do with that user ID, once the promise is fulfilled, probably once the promise is resolved or rejected, what do we want to do? That thing will come here. So essentially then would talk for resolve. So whatever we want to do after the promise is successfully resolved, that code we can put it over here. So for now, let's just display the value of the user ID that is written in the console. So over here, I'll use the parameter for this function as ID, and in the arrow function, let's simply say user ID is whatever ID that we receive. So user ID is ID. And also please ignore these colons whenever I'm using autocomplete, they are getting added, but for JavaScript, they are really not mandatory, so you can skip them. So this is the way we can simply consume a promise in JavaScript. So when we run this program, let me quickly run this one. We can see that user ID is fetched, and this is this one. So the whole point is, let me also add a couple of console.logs here. So I've added two console.logs, execution starts, execution continues, and let's try to rerun the program again. So what happens? Execution starts, execution continues. So during the time the request is taking to fulfill whatever you want to get, in this case user ID, program does not stop over here. It is continuing to the next lines of code, whatever is there. And as soon as the promise is resolved, it comes back with the whatever output it returns, and then we can process the output. Only the part that is dependent on the request that we are waiting for, we are holding off only that part of the code to execute, but the rest of the program should continue. So that is the gist or core of the asynchronous programming. Now the same thing we can achieve by using async and await. Now, the same consuming of this promise we can do by using async and await, and to do that, all we need to do is we need to create async function. Now, how to create an async function? We just need to write async keyword. We just need to write async keyword, and then we can write the function. So if you write async in front of any function, that becomes an async function. And other things we can write, let's give it some name, let's say get ID. In this case, the parameter is email. And over here, all we need to do is just call the function that is returning a promise. So in this case, we will simply call get user ID, provide the email. In this case, I can provide this email, same over here. And to make sure that next line of program in this particular function, not the whole, the next line of program in this particular function, wait for this execution, we need to add a keyword called as await keyword. So when we add await keyword in front of a function that is returning a promise, it will make this line wait over here, I mean the execution wait over here before going and executing next lines of program in this async function, not in the whole program. Okay, so what we can do is we can also return, we can also get the returned value inside a constant. So let's say constant ID is equal to this. So whatever value it returns as part of resolve, we can fetch it, we can get it inside this const here, and then we can simply display it in the same fashion. So you see, by using async and await, the program looks like a synchronous program, but it is actually an asynchronous program. It is exactly similar to this one, but when we have multiple then statements combined, it becomes difficult to understand with all these indentations and stuff and all these functions. With async, the readability of the program, the ease of understanding of the program is improved a lot, especially when we have multiple functions clubbed together which are returning multiple promises, okay, which we'll see it in upcoming sessions. But for now, just to understand the basic concept of async and await, the first thing to understand is when we write async keyword in front of a function, that becomes an async function, and inside the async function, all we need to do is just put word await in front of any function that is returning a promise. So it will make the execution wait at that point before it goes to the next line inside the function, but the overall execution of the program will not wait. What I mean to say by that is, when execution is happening, whenever we call this function, let's say I'm calling it over here, get ID, probably with the same ID. When this line gets executed, it will begin executing the function. It will wait for this user ID to fulfill the promise, but the program will not halt over there. It will go ahead and continue the execution of the next lines. And whenever the function is, this promise is fulfilled, then it will go ahead and execute the next line of program inside the function. So the scope of await is only inside the async function. And what I mean to say by that is, if we try to do this outside of the async function, something like this, it will not work. Await has to be inside an async function. And the reason is, let's say if we add await something like this over here, then it will make all the lines of code below this particular statement wait for this promise to fulfill. And we don't want to do that. We want program to continue its execution, and we want only that part of the code which is dependent on the result of this line wait. In this case, this console.log, and whatever process that we want to do with the ID, that particular program we want to wait until this thing is processing. So we can put it as part of an async function and handle it separately, and program will continue. So let's clear this and rerun this program. So you can see it's actually pasting two results here, just because one is for our conventional way of utilizing or consuming a promise, and the second thing is consuming the same promise by using async and await. Both of them are doing the same thing, but with the use of async and await, it's more clear. Okay, in this way we use async and await, and we'll see some more features and programs with async and await in the upcoming session.
Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into JavaScript with Node.js, don't forget to explore our complete online course. Click the link in the description to get started today. Plus, subscribing to our channel ensures you won't miss out on more valuable content in the future. See you in the class.